Why can I orgasm by myself but not with a partner? This is a question I get a lot as a sex therapist, so let's dive in. Orgasms are not a slam dunk for everyone, and their many mysteries can baffle even the most sex-positive person. How do you have one? How do you have multiple orgasms? What's the difference between a clitoral, vaginal, or blended orgasm? Are nipple orgasms even possible? Yes, they are, but that's a topic for another video. One of the most baffling conundrums that some women face when it comes to the big O is why they can have them easily by themselves, but not with a partner. Sharing orgasmic pleasure with a partner can be incredibly erotic. While orgasms are not the end-all be-all of sex, it can be really puzzling and frustrating if they only appear for an audience of you. So let's take a deeper dive into the psyche can reveal several reasons why a woman may struggle to achieve an orgasm with a partner, but has no problem when she's loving herself by herself. Number one, trust issues. It is not easy to trust people all the time, even when you want to. It can take time to get to know someone, and trust builds over that time with consistency. Consistency lends itself to safety, and if you're unsure of where you stand with a partner, or you don't have enough information about them to know if their walk matches their talk, then it can be really difficult to lean in and really let go. And understandably, especially if you've been hurt, betrayed, or deceived in the past, old wounds can really get in the way of your ability to trust with reckless abandon. Introducing another person into your sexual pleasure zone is a risk, physically, sexually, and emotionally. When trust is in question, your body may not be able to fully relax and let down its guard. Number two, struggles with intimacy. For some women, intimacy is easy. They revel in it, they're open to it, and they seek it out. But for others, it can feel engulfing, suffocating, too vulnerable, or can leave them feeling out of control. Sharing any aspect of yourself is no easy feat. Allowing yourself to be fully seen, literally and metaphorically, can feel too overwhelming for some women, thwarting their ability to climax with a partner. So someone who is holding back remains in a state of self-protection during partnered sex, and that's often an impediment to reaching orgasmic levels of arousal and excitement. Number three, she likes to be in control. When a woman struggles with control, what she's really wrestling with is a difficulty in surrendering. Perhaps she's felt powerless in the past or has felt marginalized in some way, in which case wanting to be in control makes a lot of sense. Growing up in an environment where control meant survival and surrender means danger or being hurt can really ingrain a fear of surrender that makes it kind of impossible to let go with a partner. In order to have an orgasm, one has to be willing to surrender to the contractions, to the emotions, to the pleasure of sex. It may be easy to do when you're by yourself because without the presence of another person, it's easy to feel in control. You know yourself, you know how you like to move, what you like in terms of sensation, and when you add another person into the mix and there are unknown variables, that can light up an internal need to stay alert and stay in control. In essence, this state of hypervigilance is a reminder to nurture deeper feelings of trust and safety so you can let go and really learn how to receive pleasure. Number four, lacking knowledge about sexual skills. If either partner lacks sufficient knowledge of sexual skills, the sexual response system, or what they like sexually, it can be really difficult to reach an orgasm. Sexual naivete is nothing to be ashamed of. No one is born a sexpert. But if you feel unsure about what you like, or you have a partner who's not clear about the ins and outs of your sexual roadmap, this is an easy fix and can be a fun and hot mission of sexploration together. Every single person and every single body are different, and unfortunately, accurate sex education just isn't always available. Sometimes people get rigid ideas in their mind about what is supposed to feel good with a partner, and then they stop exploring what actually works for them. So if you're not sure, ask, and if they're not sure, educate. Number five, there's shame about sex. So unless humiliation is your thing, and if it is, there's nothing wrong with that, shame is lethal to the hope of an orgasm. Sex is nothing to be ashamed about. Everyone has a relationship with sex and are born from it. Nonetheless, many people, women especially, receive messages throughout their lives that sex is shameful, or looking sexy is shameful, or wanting pleasure is shameful. These messages can make it really difficult for women to connect with their sexuality in a healthy way, for fear of being seen as bad or dirty, as they're often made to feel. Slut shaming and victim blaming sully women's sexuality in a really, really public way, and often shame can become ingrained in a woman's sexual identity. When this is the case, it can be challenging for her to achieve an orgasm alone, and shame about sex can become exaggerated when there's another person in the equation. Another set of eyes in the room can feel like 1,000 when someone is in a shame burrow, and it can set off a fight, flight, freeze, or fawn response that negates the likelihood of having an orgasm. Number 6, the sex is just not that hot. So, spoiler alert, being adequately turned on is a key element of reaching an orgasm. In this case, being aroused might mean an elaborate fantasy scenario, or just being able to hold your mind in the reality of you and your partner's sexiness in the present moment. If you're running through your to-do list, just showing up to please your partner, or substituting sex for your cardio that day, or dissociating, it may be really challenging for you to reach an orgasm. Sex that is perfunctory or mechanical is not usually that hot and can leave you feeling without enough erotic vitality to lubricate, let alone have an orgasm. Number 7, it's a performance. As a culture, there has been far too much importance placed on penetrative sex and orgasms. Orgasms are great, no doubt, but over time there's been much too much meaning placed on them about someone's worth, both in the bedroom and as a person. Sexual prowess has been co-opted by mainstream culture to be an indication of whether or not someone is good enough. As such, people of all genders can run the risk of placing an inordinate amount of pressure on women to come, as if their partner's whole identity depends on it. Now, this is not always an explicit conversation or demand, but it does seep into our collective psyche and has led many women to perfect their performance of orgasmic ecstasy. Male partners feel great, and then the orgasm gap between men and women widens. So when a woman has a history of performative sex and does not get real with her partners about what she wants or needs to come, she's teaching them to ignore her because she's ignoring or subjugating herself. And this can lead to a long-standing pattern of shutting down and not expecting pleasure, which can make having an orgasm with a partner really, really challenging. Number 8, ineffective communication. When a woman is unable or unwilling to communicate with a partner about their needs, it can be really hard to set the stage for an orgasm. Sure, sometimes it can feel awkward to talk about sex. You may not want to hurt your partner's feelings. That's kind, but it will not help you light the fire you need to get over the orgasm hump. Each person shares responsibility for their own orgasm, and talking about it is sometimes the best way to bring you closer to having an orgasm and to each other. So if you feel safe enough to have that conversation, do it. Number 9, a history of trauma. When someone has experienced trauma, the after effects can be brief or long-lasting. Unaddressed trauma can result in some of the other concerns that I've already talked about, like difficulties with vulnerability, trust, surrender, and intimacy, especially if the trauma was sexual, relational, or somehow related to betrayal. Unresolved trauma can lead to interpersonal dissociation, fear, low self-esteem, all of which can be huge impediments to having an orgasm. Many women with a history of sexual trauma find themselves disconnected from their bodies during sex, which can also make it really difficult to fully experience the pleasure they would like to feel. Intense sensations, even those that are pleasurable, can lead to further disembodiment and disconnection from orgasmic potential. But the good news is that if you have trauma in your background and you think this is getting in the way of your quest for pleasure, seeking therapy to address the trauma can be a huge remedying factor. Number 10, body anxiety. Having a poor self-image or body image can get in the way of any woman's sexual experience with a partner. Concerns about how she looks, whether her flaws, real or perceived, can be seen by a partner. All of those fears can get really loud inside the mind of a woman when she's in the presence of another person during sex. Flying solo, negative thoughts or inner critiques may not be as big of a distraction, making it easier for her to relax and surrender into pleasure when she's by herself. If it's been a challenge for you to orgasm with a partner, you are not alone. There are many ways to get in touch with your sexuality differently. Working with a sex therapist or a sex coach can be a great start in helping you understand the intricacies of your own mind-body connection to help provide you with tools that let your orgasmic potential flow with and without a partner.